Welcome to the Carry On Couple Podcast with Ryan and Katrina. This is our podcast about our adventures and how we make life magical. We're going to tell you all about how we travel the world on a tight budget and still make it awesome.
We can't say that our way will work for everybody, but we want to share our experiences with you so that you might be able to have your own travel adventures. And if you're listening, we want you to know that you and I, we're in a club now, the Carry On Club.
Happy Monday, everyone. I'm starting this episode just a little bit differently because I have some news. We're going to have a sort of different format coming out for these episodes. We are running off of a different hosting site, which is good news. Doesn't mean anything for you guys. You're still going to be listening the same way from the same part. But we actually have sponsors now. So I want to just point out this first one, which is sort of silly, but sort of serious at the same time, because seriously, I mean this, you should really get into this here, but silly because it's sort of just a mutual agreement between a friend and a friend of the podcast. But this is for Laugh It Up Fuzzballs podcast. It's a podcast where they talk about, life, geeky stuff, and basically everything. Listen over there. Joey the Wookiee Wright is a good friend of the podcast. He's actually part of the motivation of why we started this podcast. So listen to Laugh It Up Fuzzballs. It's going to be really worth it. And enjoy this episode. Episode 5!
The 5th.
That's right. It's the 5th. Now, today's a little bit different than our other episodes that we've done. Katrina, why is it different?
Because we have friends, guys.
We have friends,
What?
but we have friends here.
I think they're friends. I don't know.
Yeah.
They just made weird faces. You can't see that, but they're making a very bad face.
I didn't know that's
right
what
now.
we were agreeing to.
Yeah, okay, so you just heard a new voice on the podcast. That was our first new voice that we've heard on the podcast. That's great. So, who do we have here?
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm a friend of Ryan and Katrina's.
Yeah.
And I'm Jake. I'm a friend of Ryan's. And
Wow, Jake. I see how it is.
No,
I thought we were all friends.
Yes, I'm a friend of Ryan and Katrina's as well. I was in their wedding as well.
Yeah.
But he's not my friend. He just, what are we, acquaintances?
Yeah, I mean, we met at your wedding, so I mean, we could say we were
Yeah,
friends.
Ryan has to pay his friends sometimes.
Yeah, I do. That's true. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. So we got you guys on this podcast because we wanted to...
Well, what's the name of this episode?
Oh, that's right. The name of the episode. The name of the episode is Herding Cats. Not hurting cats. Herding. Like, I'm a shepherd. Okay, whatever. We're going to go. So we wanted to have you guys on the podcast to talk about probably one of the most difficult and frustrating types of travel to plan.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I hate doing these types of trips.
Yeah, and it's traveling in a group. So, gosh, let's just get this thing. Let's get this thing going. You guys have both traveled in groups, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what do you think are some challenges in just group trips in general?
That eye roll does not come across on audio.
Yeah, this is a audio podcast, not visual.
How much time do we have?
As much as you need.
Okay, well, I'll just start off and say that group trips, at the end of them, are always so fun, and it's great if you have the right people with you. That being said, you learn a lot about people when you travel with them, the same way you do when you live with them.
Yes.
And
But
it's-
worse.
Yes. Because you're in a very stressful situation where no one's familiar with what's around you, and you're sort of just having to figure out what you're all going to do as a group. So it tests your friendship, but in like a fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says fun, and I say, I don't quite know the word.
In a way.
No way.
In a way.
I was approximating,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I agree though. I think it can be so fun and so rewarding, and you can really strengthen your friendships a lot. But if you're not careful, it can lead to like kind of fizzling out your friendship as well.
Yeah, we've some of us have experienced that firsthand. So I think.
What were you talking about?
No, I wasn't talking about that trip.
Any
that one
names
trip,
given,
maybe.
any names given in this episode are going to be, totally based on fiction.
You know what I'll
We're
do?
not talking about
if we
you.
do accidentally slip a name in, I'm gonna go in and totally terribly edit like a different name in.
Oh my God,
Frankfurt.
Barack Obama.
I've heard he's horrible.
Thanks, Obama. That's where that phrase came from.
Yeah, he was
traveling with the
bad.
group.
Yeah, he was bad to those friends on that trip.
So one of the biggest challenges that I think that we've had was just coordinating the big group. You know, so like for us it was communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I'm the worst at this, but I hate it the most. Texting people back. I suck at texting people back. I'm so bad at responding, Facebook Messenger, texting, any sort of communication. I'm the worst. But I get so mad when other people, like when it's like you're on a deadline, you've got a trip coming up, you got to do stuff. I get so mad at people when they don't respond.
You think it would be easy? Like, just, you know, you get a text message. It says,
the only time that I'm good at responding to people is when I know that there's actually like a real thing that I need to do it for. Like, okay, you need to book something, or okay, like you have to have this decision by this time, or it's important. If it's like, hey, how's it going today? I'm probably gonna text you back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but if it's like, but if it's involving like say money, you know?
I want to respond.
Yeah, and don't just assume your answer's a given. Like if it's a yes/no question and you don't answer, you think, oh, I just assumed you would know my answer. No,
I don't.
Just say it, for the love of God.
I don't know how to read minds. I know you all think I do, but I don't.
There's a couple ways that you can kind of coordinate with people and do more group stuff. Is doing Google Docs. That's a good way. You mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
How do you use Google Docs? Like, what are you using for?
We used Google Docs mostly for calendars and like preliminary planning. So we had a list. Most recently, I did a trip to Japan, and we just sort of had a bullet point list of all the things people wanted to do. What were their priorities?
Yeah.
And then we color coded like what do you absolutely have to do? What is like if we have time, and what is, yeah, we all want to do that, so let's prioritize it.
Yeah.
So that way we at least have like a rough idea of what we want to do, and then we can start grouping things together to decide what locations we're going to be at. Mm-hmm. And that helped a lot with getting people to volunteer information, because they didn't have to do it in the room where no one knows what they're talking about.
Right. Now, are you using just the Google Doc itself? Are you using Sheets? Are you using kind of all this stuff there?
That one was just a plain document, and then once we had more an idea what we wanted to do, we built an itinerary on a grid, sort of day by day. Like, hey, this is kind of what we're thinking of doing.
Right.
It helped a lot.
Loves grids and itineraries.
The grids.
It's great for sharing afterwards.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Hey, family, this is where I'll be if I go missing.
Yes, that I share it with all of my family. Yeah. There's other ways you can do it, like group texts. We did that.
Yes.
Actually.
Although I think those work the least.
Yeah, you lose track of stuff real fast.
Yes and no. I mean, having 14 people on one group text, there was a lot lost in translation.
Well, and especially if like people, like some people have iPhones and some people have like Samsung.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, you have 14 people. Well, they're not going to get this now because you have more than 8 people in a group.
Right.
And then you have to split things up, and then it just gets confusing.
I mean, I started, what I would do is I would text people individually. And I would, if I had to tell certain people certain things, the group text was more to get everybody kind of together to, you know, just get involved with each other and get excited about it. And then as far as like when it came to payments, or it came to what everybody wanted to do, or if people wanted to go to dinner certain places, because then you have to take into account whether people like certain food and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah, so that's a good way. Also, another way that kind of people take for granted is a phone call. Like, call somebody.
What?
No, that's
what
not a thing
century do you
anymore.
live in?
Yeah, well, it always bugged me. Well, you know what? Actually, we'll talk about that one later, because my blood pressure's going up already.
We should have got alcohol for this.
Yes, we should. I mean, we can pause and get some. Decision making, you kind of mentioned like coming up with like food and stuff like that, and actually even just before, like doing like if you guys listened to our last couple weeks, we talked about pre-planning. If you're talking about like the stuff like where you want to go, how you want to do it, who you want to go with, figuring out who's gonna make all the decisions.
Take me to your leader.
Yeah. So have you guys? I know Jake for sure. Like one of the trips we went on, you were like the captain of that whole thing. Like
I think it was more so because I had been there multiple times before.
Right.
So I kind of knew everything that was going on over there, and I knew like which parks we could go to.
Where's there?
Oh yeah, where is there?
There is Walt Disney World in
okay.
Florida.
Okay.
No way.
As well as Universal in Florida.
Yeah.
Ryan and Katrina were part of it.
Yeah.
Part of this trip. But
we've never met before. No, Jake and I, we never met until we got married.
They said you never went before. I was like,
so I was there, but I never met you.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. You guys were kind of just like in
keeping the continuity in case anyone's checking.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So
got it.
But I mean, mostly what I did was I made kind of an itinerary beforehand.
Yeah.
Just listing an idea of what we could do the entire time, and people were free to change it as they pleased. Mm-hmm. I asked, nobody wanted to change it until we got it.
Yeah, so...
Don't you just love when you offer up the chance for people to give their opinion and it's like cricket noises?
Right. Should I add the crickets again?
Yeah.
Insert crickets here?
Yeah. Okay. So we did that a couple episodes ago. I'm getting really fancy with this podcast. I need to stop, otherwise I have to add all these type of effects. But yeah, so there's that where nobody wants to make a choice.
Yeah.
But then there's kind of the opposite where too many people want to make decisions. And if that kind of comes, there's you kind of did this for us, Jake, where we had to decide where we wanted to stay, and nobody was saying anything. So
the hotel?
Yeah, I think like hotel wise, and you were just like, we need to decide this by Friday, or
we had 3 different choices. Yeah.
But nobody was saying anything.
Yeah, because we could have stayed at like the Art of Animation for a higher price, and then we could have stayed at 2 other resorts for lower prices, but the rooms would be different.
And they were further away or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And I wanted an idea from everybody what they wanted to do.
Yeah, because when you're doing a group thing, you want to take into account everyone's preferences. Absolutely. Or at least try to get the majority of the people want this. Because obviously you like these people if you're trying to go on a trip with them.
That's true. Well, at least it starts off that way, right?
Yeah.
and then the trip happens.
That's how the trip starts.
You know.
Yeah. What are some things about planning a group trip that kind of bug you? Kat, do you have anything on that? Like
yes,
just the planning
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Hi, I'm Regis.
So we've kind of already touched on this, but just the decision making, it is not nice to say, I don't know, I don't care, when people ask your opinion. Like, if you honestly don't have an opinion, say whatever you want's fine. But I have gone on group trips where I am the only one willing to make a decision. And that's a lot of pressure because then if we don't have fun or if they don't like the trip, it's all on you. And if they don't get to do the thing they want to do, it's somehow your fault now. But it's really not a fun feeling.
No.
Having to step up and be the boss in a group trip because it's like, well, now this is work for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be your camp counselor. I want to be your friend.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good one. You do not being their camp counselor. That's good. One of the things that I kind of got was people not responding.
Yes.
And it was all the way up until I discovered that the whole group messaging thing was kind of bad for trying to ask a bunch of people stuff. But even when you just ask people individually, we get a lot where we ask people like, hey, would you want to go to this? And there's just no response. That kind of sucks because then you don't know if it's like, did you get this text message? Right. Are you just not interested? Or
say yes or no. And if it's a maybe, say what the circumstance is.
Yeah.
And be like, I'll tell you at this time. It's just really rude not to say anything.
Yeah. Because maybe depending on money, cool, we can work that out with you. Maybe depending on my time off, cool, we can work that out with you. But if it's just like, oh, maybe. That kind of bugs me too. Maybe. So no.
Should I include you, or is it bothering you if I keep messaging you about it?
I think if somebody just says maybe, that's a maybe leaning towards no.
That I consider maybe I want to be nice, but I can't say no and be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, it's nicer to just be honest.
Yes.
Right.
But that's how I always feel when people give you that generic maybe. It's I feel like you don't want to say no because you think you'll hurt my feelings.
You're hurting my feelings because now I have anxiety about it.
Yeah, but now I'm really oh God, what do I do? Do they want to come? How do I have to plan for more people? Are they caring at all? Anything? And then I just panic.
Yeah. What the takeaway from this should be is don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be like a hashtag.
Hashtag for this one? Oh man,
Hashtag.
You know what? This might be our first one we have to mark as explicit because we have friends.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally okay.
Okay, we kind of started talking about this before we started recording, but I was very entertained because I didn't really come to my head before you guys brought it up, and it was the fact that when sometimes people don't give you any opinion or say they don't care, and then you plan a thing, and when you're there, they decide to tell you oh, it would have been better if. Because I totally
when you get like an aerial view over everything.
Forgot about how
like,
annoying that is.
Oh,
But man,
it also feels a bit like a personal attack.
right?
Yeah.
Like you didn't want to step up and like not even just take charge, but offer an opinion, and now you're telling me like I should have done it totally different.
I feel like people love to give their opinions just at the wrong time.
They like to do it when there's zero accountability for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no pressure.
Because, if the trip gets messed up, that's on you now, or, me if I'm planning the trip. But once we get there, they can give all their opinions if they want to because, well, they didn't plan it. So
and they get to have this sense of superiority,
exactly.
like, oh, well, if I had done it. And it's like, well, you had the opportunity.
And then if they plan something and it's great, then everybody's going to praise them because they had such a great idea once you got there. And you're like, well, I didn't just plan a whole trip for a week for, 14 people, but who cares about that?
So we were talking about honesty, about people responding. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, there's the no's, there's the maybes, but what about the people that are in, but they're really not?
The cancelers.
The cancelers, the people that back out. Yeah.
Yes.
That one.
Oh, I've had people do that and like leave you in like a bind with money.
In the lurch.
Yeah.
It's awful. Like,
it's a horrible feeling because like you're not. I don't know. Personally, I never want to go to everyone else who actually followed through and showed up and be like, guys, more money, please. Like I don't want to do that.
A solution for that though.
Yeah.
And this is what I've done on every group trip that I've ever gone on so far. That you get money up front from them, a deposit. Halfway until your trip, you get half of what they still owe you. And then about 2 weeks before the trip, you get the final amount. That way it spreads it out for them.
Yeah.
Gives them a little time. And it kind of gives you time to account for their cancellation.
Right.
And you tell them everything that you give me on every payment is non-refundable.
Okay.
So if you cancel, that's then on you. It never falls back on me. I might put the money up front, but those payments and telling them you can't get the money back, that's going to kind of force their hand to either tell you...
either be serious or not.
Exactly. And if they don't want to give you the money, then you say, okay, well, then you're not going.
Yeah. Right. And, collecting money from people can be awkward for some people. Especially if you're especially for introverts. I'm far from introvert. I mean, I'm here on a podcast. Hello.
That means nothing?
That means nothing. That's true. But it can get difficult. Now, actually, I had to scroll ahead in my notes because I knew you were going to bring this up as soon as we started talking about money. Because we were literally talking about down payments, payment deadlines. How have you had people pay you other ways aside from cash, or do you just usually just take cash?
I think mostly I would do Venmo. Venmo is always a good a good way to get cash from people. And I mean, that's kind of the only way that I've ever done it.
I feel like the nice thing about that, it takes some of the awkward interaction-y bits out because you don't have to like really ask them. It's just like you send them a request or whatever.
See, but me personally, I have no shame as a person.
No, but some people who it's like that's like hard for them where they're like, oh God, how many times do I ask? Do I keep bugging them?
I mean,
what do I do? How do I word it?
There's people
I know they know, but how? Why?
There's people that have financial, problems, which is fine. And a couple of my friends did on that trip.
Yeah.
And, they would just talk to me and they'd say, listen, like I can get it to you in a couple of weeks. It's not, going to be within your deadline, but at least they're talking to me about it as opposed to just not answering.
Exactly.
You're not collections. You're just trying to make things easier for people.
And I feel like for me, whenever it's something like that, like I said, I don't mind fronting part of it if you're serious. Like if you're telling me like, hey, I don't get paid for 2 weeks, but then I'll have the money or whatever, something came up, blah blah blah, whatever. But if you, like I said, if you're communicating with me, then we can figure something out.
Yeah.
But if you're just gonna like ghost the situation and disappear, or at the last minute be like, ooh, I know I didn't pay you anything, but hopefully you have enough money because I'm not coming.
Yeah. I don't know if we've talked about this on previous episodes. We've done an entire 4 episodes. It's so hard to keep track of them now. But like ways that you could get people to pay you, like you said, Venmo, good old fashioned cash.
There's so many options.
You can
nowadays.
there's Zelle, which is it's attached to two banks themselves. You said Google Pay,
Apple Pay.
There might be
Google
Google
Pay.
I don't know. They might. I don't know.
Well,
that's why I was asking if that was a thing.
We could probably Google it.
We could probably Google it, but you know what? My computer's like just past arm's reach. So, but yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways that you guys. I mean, if you're even willing to do it, you can have them pay you with a check. I mean, I know that's old school. We pay our rent with a check. That's about it.
That's true.
And I'm pretty sure I've had the same 4 checks for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
You could also get paid in dinosaur eggs while you're at it.
You know what? I think I would accept dinosaur eggs because that is probably
those for some
a lot of money. Yeah.
Silver lining. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to pay me in actual legitimate dinosaur eggs on our next trip, folks, please pay me in dinosaur eggs.
But they need to be verified.
Yes,
verified.
Authentication.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Otherwise, no.
Authenticated.
Can I do an accent?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
This has turned into a venting session.
Yeah.
I had a feeling.
And ladies and gentlemen,
great.
can we say that group traveling actually is a fun thing?
We should have a
Yes.
We will talk about it in a moment.
But why do we still do it?
Yeah.
Why put yourself through all of that?
Yeah, we still do group travel. We're just saying the things that could happen and probably will.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to, on a positive sort of medium note.
Yeah.
On the last group traveling trip I did, I had a friend who was kind of like my co-runner with me. We did it together, basically.
Nice.
And we sort of made people show up to these meetings. We had 1 or 2 of them. We're like, hey, everyone, we're meeting at this point and deciding what we're doing. If you're not there, too bad. And most of the people kind of just sat in the room and watched YouTube, but at least they were there so we could say things to them. And then we could go back to that later on and be like, well, you were there when we decided this, so did you want to change that now? And that was kind of nice because then no one could be like, well, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't see the messages. You were in the room watching YouTube, so that's not right.
You should have paid attention.
But it was nice having
You were not paying attention in class.
Yes. Because
that is nice.
I get people miss stuff in group messages, especially when the group message turns into look at this funny thing I found.
Right.
We never do that. I never did that with our messages, Jake, ever.
I think it was the North Cal Stars or something like that. That was our message name.
The what?
I don't know, some weird name.
Oh no.
Yeah, he gets it now.
I was like, that was not it at all.
Inside
he changed the name. Yeah, I get it.
Potato, tomato, it's all the same.
Those aren't the same. I don't get it.
Oh man.
Man.
Yeah, and it is nice too, like you said, when you have kind of somebody sharing the responsibilities.
Yes.
It can make the whole process of planning it less stressful and overwhelming.
Yes.
Because, like I said, I don't mind making decisions for a group of people, but it's the possibility of them coming back later and being like, well, I didn't know about this, or I would never have picked this, or I would have done this like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just feel bad about yourself and the choices that you made when you were just trying to make sure everybody was going to have a good time. And I don't know. So that's usually where I'm like, okay, but if you can share it with someone else, then at least you're in it together. So if somebody does say something, both of you can be like, well, then.
We have receipts, and here they are. But also, it's just nice to actually plan stuff with someone and talk about oh my gosh, this would be great. What about this? And then you have fun doing it that way as opposed to just sitting in front of your computer comparing things and trying to figure out what everyone's thinking.
Yeah. And I think part of the fun part about planning, at least for me, is that step when you are actually doing the research and trying to figure out what are you going to do and what would actually be fun.
It's
so
fun,
when you have someone to be like, okay, I just found this thing. Is this a good idea?
Even
because it sounds like a really
stuff.
good idea.
At one point, we entertained the idea of going to an onsen themed theme park that had a wine bath and a chocolate. I've seen that online.
I actually want to do that.
We kind of did. It was just so far out of the way.
It's really far out of the way.
But
if we go back to Japan,
oh my god, I'd be so into that.
Herding cats.
Yeah.
Hard bad.
Cool. No, that was a good segment there. I liked that. That was fun. I got to
so sarcastic.
I got to take a breather there. That was nice.
Actually though, it's one of the only onsens in Japan that's co-ed. So if you're looking for somewhere to go with men and women.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think that they were okay with tattoos at that one too.
Yeah, tattoos are nothing crazy.
Right.
But also you have to wear bathing suits, so buy one that you don't mind getting ruined.
Because chocolate and wine and coffee.
Probably gonna get thrashed.
Yeah. Okay, so
more on that later.
That was awesome positivity stuff. How about let's change gears again. What are some problems that could occur while you're traveling with your group? So you've already planned, you are traveling.
I've got a good one.
Kat is so excited to share.
I wish we had video of that reaction. Go for it, Kat. The floor is yours.
So on our one trip, we had everyone arriving at different times. Like there was the main group that arrived together and some people who couldn't come right away, so they came later. And one of our friends found us fine. It was no big deal. The other one, she got like, oh man, the plane did not treat her well. So she got off and she was completely confused because we were in a language.
Thank you for listening this week. If you enjoy this show, please share us with your friends.
And review us.
That's right. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Seriously, we're everywhere.
Everywhere. You can follow us too on Twitter at CarryOnCouplePC, Instagram or Facebook. That's Carry On Couple Podcast. And you can also email us.
That's right, at carryoncouplepodcast@gmail.com.
Now, we're all about these free podcasts. We're just doing this for fun. Really, we are. However, if you do want to support us, we won't say no to money. Just go to anchor.fm/carryoncouplepodcast and click the support this podcast link. We have an exciting opportunity for you. That's right, you can be heard on Carry On Couple Podcast.
What?
That's right. It's simple. You just download the Anchor FM app, search Carry On Couple Podcast, tap voice message, and start recording.
That's right. And if you have any tips and tricks of your own that you want to share, or any fun destination stories from a recent trip that you went on, please leave us a message.
The great thing is you can still listen to Carry On Couple Podcast on the platform of your choice. But if you want to be heard, download Anchor FM and leave us a message.
Until next week, thanks again. And remember, you and I, we're in a club now.